How's it going, everyone? My name is J. Lou. This is the J. Lou and Bree channel. My fiance's name is Bree. She recently made a video talking about giving an update in regards to life and stuff like that, and she referred to herself as like the mother of this channel. And I'm just here to let y'all know that I ain't going nowhere. I am the father of this channel. You know what I'm saying?
Out of Peppy.
With this video, what I wanted to do is break down our budget spreadsheet, right? So we made a previous video. I'll make sure I link it right above, right up over here. You can click on it when it pops up, and then you'll be able to watch that video in regards to the reason why we believe there is power in budgeting. Now, a lot of people typically think that budgeting is for poor people, but at the end of the day, budgeting has been my key to success when it comes to knowing how much money I have coming in, as well as what am I going to spend my money on.
Count my money, party with hundreds and fifties.
You don't want to just spend your money all willy-nilly and just, a lot of times you'll spend your money on things that you really don't need. You think you need. Your budget is what keeps you in check. You know, it's like the coach in the gym that'll basically say,
hey, you got one more rep in you or whatever.
It's always over your back saying,
hey, you don't, man, put that cupcake down. You don't need to spend no money on that, you know. So
with the spreadsheet that I'm gonna show you all today, what it's gonna be, I may update it because as of right now, it's for us a personal budget spreadsheet. The one that we use, I created it for both of us, but the one I'm gonna show you all is the one that I've created for the people I teach within my trading program in regards to how to hit their goals as a trader, as well as how much money they need to be focusing on making. So with that being said, I'll modify the one that I put, but it will be in the description, and I'll walk through the details of how to be able to use it. So let's get straight into it. When it comes to the spreadsheet, you can always change the name of it right here, but whenever you come to the spreadsheet, what you will have to do is click on file, and then you will have to click on make a copy, right? The file that you have access to will be the master file that you cannot change or edit. You won't be able to click anything, but if you click make a copy, what it will do is it'll create a separate spreadsheet that'll say copy of monthly expenses. You can come up here and change the title. You can put your name, my expenses, our expenses, or whatever the case is. You can do whatever you want. Once you have created your copy, now let's get into what is the purpose of the spreadsheet. Every single month, you need to know what are you bringing in, right? So if you are working a normal job, it's typically consistent. So what you could do is, depending, like let's say you get paid every 2 weeks, right? Some months you may get paid 3 times, some months you may get paid twice. I always encourage you to base your monthly income off of getting paid twice, because there's 4 weeks in a month. Sometimes pay periods roll over, but you want to base it off of at least the 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks to equal 4 weeks total for a month, right? So that's what you will want to put in here. Let's say whenever you got your check and you only knew what the value was per check, and you got paid bi-weekly, then what you could do is you could put enter or equals, and then let's say you got paid $1,500 every pay period every 2 weeks, and then you just simply put in times 2, and what it'll do is it'll put in the value 3,000, right? So I'm gonna go with the original value. If you know what the total is after taxes, then all you have to do is just put in the total. Now the reason why we want to use the after tax value is because you can't use the money from taxes to plan and create a budget, right? The government is going to take that from you as soon as they get a chance, right? You may get a return, you may not, depending on your system and how much money you spend. But with that being said, any value that is black on this spreadsheet is a value that represents income or a positive net value, right? Anything that is red represents a negative value. So you have to go in here and put in negative values, right? So with that being said, I've broken it down into 2 different categories. There's either bills or there's spending. Now the difference between the two, bills are expenses that are required monthly, things that you absolutely have to pay. You know that the value of them most of the times, like when it comes to your electricity bill, it may vary, but what you could do is just take the average of the past 12 months that you've been spending, and then what it'll do is you just put that value here just so you can get an approximate estimate to be able to create your budget, right? But any value that you put in these columns right here that has the color red, you want to make sure it is a negative value. If you go in here and you put 100, the color is going to stay red, but at the end of the day, it's going to treat it as a positive, as if this is income. You don't want to do that. You always want to make sure that it is a negative value. Now, when the one thing I want to point out before I scroll down is, and then at the top right here, there's an area where you can put how much do you have in your savings, and I'll show you all the reason why this is important as well. Now, when it comes to spending are expenses that are not required monthly that can fluctuate, right? Such as food and dining. There's no rule that says you have to spend this much money every single month. But if you wanted to create a budget and say, okay,
for my monthly spending habits for buying food or either buying groceries and cooking will be this set amount.
and once you get to this amount, then what you would do is say,
all right, I've already hit this amount, I'm not gonna go over it, or whatever the case is.
or if you go over it, then it's like you got to look at something else to make sure you stay in line with your budget, right? So you can go in here and change things. The one thing I want to point out is if you are a person that pays tithes, it automatically calculates 10% within the spreadsheet. And this is just a simple equation. Some people don't believe in paying tithes, but they believe instead of giving their money to a church, they believe in giving it to a direct charity or nonprofit organization that they know what the money's gonna do, right? So I understand it. Whether if it's a nonprofit or a charity, you can just simply come here. Now, let's say every single month you decided to give 15% or 20%. As of right now, the default is 10 and it's just 0.1. All you would have to do is if you wanted to give 15, just put in 0.15 into the equation, right? I'm gonna keep it at 10 because most people, a tithe represents 10% of your income, you know. So with that being said, that's automatically calculated. It sums up the spending column values automatically for you as well. So this will tell you how much you're spending monthly, and then it'll also tell you what are your monthly bills. When you sum both of these up, what it will do is it'll give you your total expenses. This is what you have to make in order to survive and live every single month, right? So when we get into this detail, because on this example we are making 3,500, it's going to take the total that we're making and divide it by total expenses, and now we have a remaining budget. And then once you know what your remaining budget is, this is the benefit of the spreadsheet that's definitely helped not only myself but also my fiance. Is there's principles that I've learned from financial advisors where it says your spending allowance should never ever exceed 30% of your monthly income, right? Spending allowance, you already see, is based off of this, and then it's all of these categories. When it comes to your bill allocation, your bill should never exceed 50% of your monthly income. And when you are trying to apply for an apartment or whatever the case is, this is one of the reasons why they ask you for check stubs or pay stubs, right? They want to see if what you are bringing in per month will be able to cover the cost of rent, right? That's one of the things that's considered. And then, yeah, you may be paying tithes, but a lot of people forget to pay themselves, right? You at least want to be saving 10% within your remaining budget. You at least want to have 10% within your remaining budget after you've paid your bills, after you've paid for your monthly spending, after you've tithe or donated. You at least want to have 10% for yourself so you can just save that up and build it up as well, right? So this spreadsheet has equations and conditional formatting to where it'll automatically change. Let's say on my entertainment, I said, man, you know what? Before I started doing this, my entertainment spending was probably let's say negative 500 a month, right? As you can see, the spreadsheet automatically updates and it says I'm overspending when it comes to my spending allowance, but at the same time my remaining balance is also less than 10%. So both of these are going to show as red, right? Now if I came up to the bills and like let's say I dropped this thing right here, I went down to 100, right? Then my remaining budget goes above the 10%, right? I originally need to have 3,500 in order for this to be okay. This is okay, but my spending allowance isn't okay. So it's like an on-screen prompt, so it can keep you in line and in check with principles that are they've helped me get to the position where I am at, right? So with that being said, that kind of breaks all of that stuff down. Down right here at the bottom is where we get into the point of your savings account. Right now, you most likely you'll have a savings account, but a lot of times people, when I teach people how to do this, a lot of people nowadays, especially with COVID and everything that took place, people are wanting to quit their jobs and pursue their passions, create a business or whatever the case is, right? Maybe even start a new career, or they want to go to school or whatever the case is. And typically the knowledge is if you want to do those things, you need to have a total amount of money or monthly expenses saved up for a certain number of months. Now, what I've done is I've gone here and given just the general outline. Some people would tell you only need 3 months. Some people would tell you need 6 months. Some people would tell you need at least a year. Most of the time, if you want to do something like that, you need to shoot for the 6-month target. But people typically forget about contingency. And what contingency is the simple buffer that, okay, you save 3 months of your expenses, but what if as soon as you quit or whatever the case is, your car has a flat tire or it needs something else like a brand new battery or whatever? Those are the things that are unexpected that the contingency should keep in mind. Now with the contingency, you can use whatever value you want. If you wanted to, you could put in 0, right? And that would mean that you don't have a buffer if any emergency things came up. Some people typically go off and use 10. I encourage you to use at least 15 or more. The higher your contingency, the safer you'll be, right? And when it comes to, some of you all know my background. I went to school as an engineer. I've designed and worked as an engineer for over 10 years. And one of the things about when we design buildings is we have to design them based off of a contingency of the budget, right? If a building requires a certain amount of steel, and that steel is going to cost me $1 million, I'm going to add a contingency of maybe 30% on top of that, to where I don't know if the steel that I receive, some pieces of the steel may be defective, or whenever they're building it, it may get ruined or whatever the case is. So you'll need extra steel in order to create your budget. And this is the purpose of a contingency plan. So I would encourage you 15 or more. 30 is typically good, the highest number that most people shoot for. You really want to stay between 15 and 30, right? 10 is okay, but that's if you know you have something lined up and planned, and you don't want to have too much of a buffer, you know. So with that being said, if we go back to the top of this, as you'll see, the savings is only $5,000. Now this spreadsheet is built in to where, like, let's say in order to reach the 3-month goal, you need to at least have $9,528.90. Well, let's say you were saving up and you update this over time. What you could do is, let's say you saved up $10,000 in like basically in your savings over a few months. When you scroll down, what you'll notice is it now highlights and it changes to green, and it lets you know that you've reached your goal, you know. So with that being said, this is something that you could definitely use to help keep you in line. There are apps that do this kind of stuff, but some people, I encourage you to do it manually. The apps will automatically do it, and sometimes it'll take your mind away from keeping track of this stuff. And there is power when it comes to writing down and doing things manually. This does not take a lot of time. Me and my fiance, we just spend 1 weekend a month just looking over our finances and say, okay,
this month, how much did we spend? Did we go over anything?
And it just keeps both of us accountable to each other, to where we're not overspending. Like I stated in the video, I used to spend a crazy amount of money on video games, just not knowing how much I was spending. Whenever I sat down and did this with her, it kept me in check, right? So with that being said, one thing I want to point out is, when it comes to the monthly bills and the monthly spending, if I was to double click on this equation, you'll notice that it highlights these cells from here all the way down to A22. Now, let's say there's a category here that you don't really, it doesn't fit your needs or whatever, or you need to add a category. I would encourage you to basically, if you was to right click on the sheet, you could insert a row above or a column to the left. I would encourage you to insert a row above the last row and then the top row of the spending category. The reason why is because if you were to do that, like let's say if I add another row right here, now if I double click on this equation, it's gonna consider that row as well, and you will never ever have to worry about this not actually calculating everything, right? So with that being said, that's something that I would encourage you to do if you needed to add another category for spending. And then the same thing with bills. Let's say there's a bill on here that you may have to pay that I may not be aware of, like such as student loans or whatever the case is. You can easily right click here, or you can right click on here, and then you can say insert one row above, and then what it'll do is if I double click here and if I scroll up, it will consider that row's value as well, right? So with that being said, that kind of explains everything within the spreadsheet. Hopefully this video will give you all a better insight. And like I said, when it comes to the channel, y'all may not see me that often, but that's because we're both focused on different things. We are getting more consistent with our videos and just getting more in tune with how we want to take this channel and grow this channel. And instead of it being a baby, it becomes a full child, you know. So with that being said, if you all enjoy our content and appreciate what we do, definitely give us a like. It definitely helps. But at the same time, share this video with somebody that needs help with their budget, right? A lot of people typically think a budget is wrong, but I've never met somebody that's wealthy that did not have a budget. Every single top company in America, if you look at the S&P 500, the top 500 companies in America, they all have budgets, right? In order to be successful, you have to have a budget, you know. So with that being said, if you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below, and I hope to see you all in the next video. It's your boy J. Lou. Salute.